Hi everyone, we're talking about the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. Of course, the new folding phone here coming out from Samsung, and Chris Matistic is here with us to talk about not only the phone, but the actual process that he went through to get the phone, which is always exciting to hear your stories, Chris, how they all play out, because typically there's always something funny or some kind of twist that goes along with it. How did this one go?
It's more drama and then tragedy, Karen, with a touch of comedy thrown in. In this case, Samsung suddenly revealed this wonderful looking, relatively speaking, folding phone and said that some stores would have it on Valentine's Day. So what could one possibly do on Valentine's Day than try and find either an AT&T store, a Best Buy store, a Sprint store, or a Samsung Experience? Now, let me ask you, do you know where your nearest Samsung Experience store is, Karen?
I have absolutely no idea.
Exactly. So I tried to find the biggest Best Buy that I could find in the Bay Area because I felt sure that at least a big Best Buy would have it. I wafted in. I said, "Do you have Samsung's new folding phone?" And the man at the phone counter said, "I'm terribly sorry. No, we don't even have the Samsung Galaxy Fold. We don't have the display for the Z Flip." And essentially, he was saying he was kind of angry about the whole thing, that Samsung hadn't provided his store with any phones at all. So what could I do but try and find a big AT&T store? Perhaps you just never know, do you? I might have a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip. And so I found an AT&T store. I wandered in. I looked around, trying to give the appearance of someone who's totally lost, because I'm quite good at that. And a gentleman came over to me and I asked him whether he had the new Samsung folding phone, and he immediately walked me over to a gorgeous glass case in which the phone was there like a museum piece. It was really quite exciting, Karen.
Yeah, I'm picturing you walking in kind of aimlessly, as you've mentioned before that you do, looking a little confused, waiting on someone to help you, as you do with other products. And I can see in the case, I can see you right now as if the sun was shining on it in the light, just right there for this beautiful phone.
That's exactly how it was. And even more exciting than that, this particular AT&T salesman happily agreed to open the case so I could get my hands on the phone. And I have to say, the phone looked quite pretty. Unfortunately, it was a weird pink color, which is not quite my thing. I mean, you probably wear slightly more pink than I do. I'm guessing, I could be wrong. Slightly more because I wear none. And I thought, oh, this is quite good. And then I opened it up and he let me open it up. He let me poke at the screen, showed me how to do a couple of things. And the whole thing looked like, imagine a 1960s compact that everyone had in their purse. And then you open it up, it's sort of tiny and square, a little bit chunky, but not very chunky. And I thought, oh, this seems really quite a lovely phone. So I said to the salesman, I said, what do you think of it? And he gave me the fabulous sales response, I wouldn't buy it.
That was it then. He said don't buy it, although they were displaying it so beautifully. A lot of good reviews too. I've been, reading. Some people have been very happy about it. What were his reasons?
Well, as ZDNet's ambassador to phone stores, I of course asked a follow-up question. I said, well, why do you say that? He said, look, it's a first generation phone of its kind. You just don't know how good it is. And you never know once a new thing comes out. And so many people, let's remember, are ordering this phone, have ordered this phone without ever having it in their hands. And that's why I like to go to phone stores, because it seems to me, if you're going to spend $1,380 on a phone, maybe it's worth at least seeing what that phone looks and feels like before you spend the money. I have a suspicion that a lot of the people who buy these phones initially simply want to stick them on eBay and make a profit. However, we carried on chatting and he explained that he would prefer something bigger, more tablet-sized when you opened it up. For me, however, as a much more casual, I guess, phone user, I actually thought it was extremely nice. But then I realized there was another agenda to the whole thing, because he carried on chatting and he explained that, yes, I could order it now, but he couldn't guarantee whether his store would have the phone at all, or if even on the launch day, it would have any. And this is clearly something that in my conversations with phone store employees grates on quite a few of them, that the likes of Samsung release a new phone, people get excited. Yes, as you say, Karen, it gets really good reviews. But then you go to a phone store, they not only don't have any, sometimes they don't have the display. Even worse, they literally have no idea when or if they're going to get the phones in the store at all, which is extremely frustrating. You can imagine if that's your job and you're supposed to please the customer, you ain't going to please the customer with so little information.
Yeah, definitely not. And a lot of hype, of course, for people. And they get excited thinking, okay, this is it. And I'm finally going to get my hands on it, only to show up and find out, no, sorry, not so fast. Do you think, though, by having finally being able to touch it, though, and you were impressed by it, that we're finally getting this right now, where the experiments are over? We're going to be moving towards this for more people?
In science, the experiments are never over, Karen. There's always going to be more experiments. In this case, I thought what was actually, the salesman was actually, I think, very good in the fact that he was cautious, because shortly after I went into his store, stories began to emerge that the folding glass, which was supposed to be incredibly thin, incredibly revolutionary on the Z Flip, in fact is rather easily scratched. So this is something you would only learn from experience. Even those who have touched the phone a few times, and I certainly saw evidence of this, the outside of the case smudges with fingerprints on instant touching. It's a mirror kind of effect, and immediately you get fingerprint marks. So I actually respected and appreciated his caution, because clearly it's only as people are going to use these phones for a while that we'll be able to at least have some sense of an answer to that question, whether the science is done and these phones are now ready for prime time. We just don't know. Samsung is clearly desperate to somehow be the more exciting brand now. I mean, I could almost argue it's more of an elitist brand than Apple now. Apple's releasing essentially cheaper and cheaper products that still have some sense of newness about them. Whereas Samsung is releasing a $2,000 Fold and a $1,300 Z Flip. These ain't cheap phones.
No, absolutely not. And you had me at fingerprints. I could not stand the idea of the fingerprints all over it. That would drive me crazy. And just to verify, Chris, this was your Valentine's Day, right? This is what you did on.
I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. I find it a crude event created by greeting card companies. It's not something I'm interested in the slightest. And fortunately, neither is my wife.
All right, Chris. Well, that's great. Then you are a match made in heaven, no doubt. For much more on the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip, make sure you check out ZDNet. Thanks for watching, everybody.